about the autism clip that was shared. Well, not shared, but it was sort of like the way TikTok works. Things get re-uploaded, and it gets shared around. So there's the autism clip, and there is. We're gonna go back to an IG clip as well, but I want to have a bigger conversation, just about autism in general, because I think it's a good conversation to have about what E did a year ago. Now I do have a clip of what E did recently, and it was on their IG, and what they were doing, the countless IG and the countless apology. Hey Courtney, and the countless apologies, and that thing. But there's a particular part in the IG clip, that it's the one where the mom is in the background saying that you good morning unstable unicorn, that people aren't looking for resolutions, they're just wanting Elphaba to change, those kind of things, right? It's that clip, but there's a particular point where he's talking about their brain, and I think because the first conversation we need to have is about language and about how Elphaba has changed the wording and changed the language. And I think when it comes to Elphaba is still trying to find a community, so to speak, because we saw the clip or the IG. This was about a month ago, where they were trying to equate themselves to the ADHD community. My cat has now got the zoomies, and I don't know why. My cat has decided to have the zoomies at 7:15 in the morning. Anyway, so that's the clip that I want to focus on first. We're just going to focus, as I said, it's not going to be too long, so we're just going to focus on, let me bring that up. No, you can say that, you can kind of tell that I was watching Jake Bass, but that's not the one I want. I'm going to have to close that down. There we go. That's not the one. There we go. I was going to change it over. Hey Kirsten, how you doing? So yeah, I have skipped to the part where Elphaba's about to talk about their brain. And I think it's very telling. So, oh yeah. Yes, Smokey. Smokey's like, oh shit. I mean, hi Kirsten. Y'all are causing chaos. They're already starting, people. They're already starting. So, let's listen to this, and this is how, like I said, it's all about language and about how Elphaba wants us to believe, because this was all about the apology at this present time, about the apology and about how their brain is wired differently.
And to fucking shoot me, do you know what I mean? And
people shouldn't be threatening to unalive you. Just want to point that out there. Hey Purple Dawn, I'm doing well, I hope you're doing well too. People shouldn't be threatening to unalive you.
Don't even fucking care about that.
No, nobody gives a fuck about anyone.
So basically, like, all I'm saying is it's just for my followers to have an understanding of how my brain works. My brain works.
I think we know how your brain works, but okay.
In a very different way compared to other people, and that is the unfortunate thing, and that is how it is, unfortunately. That's how I'm wired, that's how I'm born, that's how it was. And if no one can actually see that, then I'm sorry, you're going to end up really hating me. But
okay, so like I said, the reason why I wanted to play that particular part of the clip is now, in current present time, because this was posted a week ago, Now in present time, Elphaba is saying that their brains just wired differently, and that's they were born this way and all that stuff. I will try and say Elphaba does not have a formal diagnosis of anything. As we all know, Elphaba went to CAMS, which is the child. Hey Johnny, which is the child services, and they got assessed then according to what Alpha has told us throughout the years, and nothing's come of that. So it's just interesting that now that because of Alpha went on Autism's Got Talent, then it got caught out that she was lying about having autism to get on the show. Then she blamed Jack, an actual autistic person and trans person as well, at the time. So it's all about, for me, I feel like in current times, Elphaba is still trying to cling to this I'm neurodivergent path. The suggestion for me, thank you for the heart, me Johnny. The suggestion would be to go and get an assessment. Now I know the assessment can take years, and Davina says, CAMS won't see anyone over the age of 18. The day you turn 18, they drop you. Yeah, right, Davina. Yeah, it's a childhood thing. So, because that's what Elphaba was referring to. So now the conversation is about being neurodivergent and their brains wired differently. And I think in the context of, because this was on the context of an apology, quote unquote apology, this is where Elphaba is in dangerous territory because she is using that as an excuse. Yeah, Johnny, they are chronically online. And that is can be seen as a form of, it's like social media addiction. But so yes, I was going some of that. So this is where Elphaba's in dangerous territory because it feels and has felt like Elphaba's using it as an excuse to get out of trouble. So your brain's wired differently, Elphaba. Mine is too. That doesn't give you an excuse to do the things that you've done. But that was all about the language and things like that. So I just wanted to bring that up because that was an interesting thing. So
face to face.
Now, this is the clip that I actually want to talk about. So, I mean, I did want to talk about that clip, and it's all about language. So this was a dead on, well, we're on the 9th. Yes, we're on the 9th of December. So this was the 8th of December 2023 is when this clip was brought up. Now I know that you have, I believe Toby J's done a video on this. I believe Emma's done a video on this. I believe that Toby J, Emma. I've seen, who else has done a video on this? Stormy's done a video on this. So a few people have done stitch videos to this. Now, hi George. Me personally, you know, I'm gonna give you my personal experience as an autistic adult. I by no means am a expert. I can only give you my experiences. experiences being an autistic adult, growing up as an autistic child as well, and also doing my own research as well. So I just want to put that out there before we go into this. I will be going back and forth with this clip as well because it goes by fast, and there are key points that I want to hit upon that I think we need to have the bigger conversation. Davina says, I was going to say it's rinse and repeat, but they don't wash, Davina. So, I mean, it does feel like a very much rinse and repeat kind of like each year as we go by, even each month, but yes. So, I just want to point that out that, I'm not an expert. There is, I know that Elphaba has upset a lot of people because this clip has resurfaced, and a lot of people are upset. As I said, we're going to go through it bit by bit, and yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Face to face right now on my life, that's how I am. I don't have a filter. Do you understand? I don't have a fucking filter. That's a trait.
Okay, first of all, I also want to point out that every autistic person is different. Because I have a filter, my partner has a filter, many other people have filters. I get where Alpha's coming from. Morning, Daisy. I can understand where Alpha's coming from in the sense of you don't have a filter. That can be taken either way, and you don't have to be autistic to not have a filter. And there are plenty of neurotypical people who do not have filters. They're just blunt. It's not an autistic trait to be forward and blunt and whatnot. It's not a trait. This was a weird one to start with, but yeah, it's okay. I mean, hey, Evil Dead, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good too. Thank you for the heart me's, George and Purple Dawn. So yeah, that's what we're starting with, and thank you for the flame heart unstable unicorn. So yeah, so it doesn't mean, yeah, neurotypical people also don't have filters. That's not necessarily a trait. I think it's more of, hey Dead Folly Falls, I think it's more a case of with autistic people, I don't want to use the word filter. We don't have a filter. It's more a case of you will get a blunt answer without any emotional response, is what that means. It means somebody could be, I'm going to use an example of somebody could be screaming and crying, and somebody's in like a heated argument, somebody's getting emotional, a neurodiverse person may still be blunt without realizing the emotional toll that's having on other people. That's what that's. I like having these conversations, but then I also don't like having these conversations because I don't articulate myself well. But I think that. But again, hey Mel, my son is ASD and he says just what he thinks. Yeah, which can be seen as blunt, or I don't think Elphaba realizes how that is, and the way in which this is being said and this is being done in response to people calling Elphaba out for something Elphaba's done. So Elphaba's response is, I'm just blunt. That's a trait of being autistic. Deal with it. And it's like, well, no. Yeah. It's my autistic son can instantly tell if someone is lying. Yeah, that's usually the tell. Morning, Trevor Lola. Mary Jane. That was another a lot of people, and we are getting tired of them. Yeah, I get that, Mary Jane. I get that. So yeah, that was a interesting way to start that. Let's continue.
I don't have a fucking filter. I stim all the goddamn fucking time. I go into fucking meltdowns.
Okay, so we're gonna go back a minute because alright. Let's go through that again.
Stim all the god. I have a fucking filter. I stim all the goddamn fucking time. I go into.
Right, so stim. Okay. Elphaba has said this a few times, but I don't think Elphaba knows what stimming is. Thank you, Trevor Lola. You listen to it when you're in the shower. Oh. Darina says the way they speak about ASD is like they have Googled it and running it off a list. Yeah, it does feel that way. Oh, it's Crazy J. Now Mary Jane. Oh, okay, Crazy J. But yeah, so let's talk about stimming. So you stim all the time. That's what Alphaba's just said. They stim all the time. But I don't think you know what that means. I stim all the time. But there's a reason for it. It's like you can't just tell me you stim all the time. And it, again, this depends on the different person. It depends on the... Autism is usually focused with children, but obviously there are adults with autism. So it depends on the individual person. So with my childhood and everything like that, used to tap. I still do it. I tap my foot uncontrollably. It's all about. Stimming is all about emotional regulation. So it's all about regulating the emotions. It's doing something physical to regulate what's going on emotionally. It's a spectrum. Everyone is different, right? Right, Trevor Lola, yeah. So I don't think Elphaba. I think Elphaba's Googled like people have said, Googled what are autistic traits, but not actually realised how that applies. So stimming, like I will sometimes, if I'm really stressed, I'll dig my nails into my hands, or into my hands. I used to pull my hair. I don't anymore. I used to pull my hair. I don't anymore. So, and it's also about it's all about the different stress levels and about the more stressed. Like as I say, I'm speaking from my experience. Everyone's experience is going to be different. The more stressed I am, the more severe the stim is. So like if I'm just mildly irritated, my foot taps. And then if I'm really stressed is when I'll dig my nails into something. Because it's all about that emotional, I always want to say deregulation, but that's not actually what it is. It's all about regulating the emotions and doing something physical to bring out that emotion. Usually causing pain. So pulling of hair, digging nails into hands, digging nails into other things. That can do it. It's how you comfort yourself. Ta-da, that was easy. Very fair, MJ. Yeah, it's how you comfort yourself. That would have been an easy way to say it. Mary Jane says, Alpha's upset the trans community and they are not happy. Saw a TikTok yesterday about them. Yeah, they have. Yeah, they have. Yeah. So, yeah. So I just want to bring out the stimming thing. Now we're going to get into meltdowns. So, and this is where Elphaba doesn't. Sorry, cousin says, what I see with my child may very well be different to others and yet have similarities too. Yeah, that very much does happen. There are similarities, but it's because every person's different. People express themselves differently with it. Which morning KK, and just says, as somebody with ADHD that may have sounded a bit... No, that's fine, MJ. That's fine. No, I get what you mean, though. No, I get it. Good morning, Anne. No, I get what you meant, though. It was you simplified it for me. MJ, you simplified that for me. So we're now going to get into meltdowns. This is another thing. My friend's son stims a lot, slaps himself, shouts, etc. He's 8. Elphaba knows nothing about anything. Mary Jane, yeah. So I stim a lot. No, Lucy Liz. I don't believe Elphaba has autism. No. He's very well aware of what he says and directs it with emotion behind it. Right. Yes. This is, yeah. So here we go. We're ready for meltdowns. Which I notice how Elphaba speaks about meltdowns, but doesn't talk about shutdowns. From what I've seen, doesn't talk about shutdowns at all. Mary Jane says he's not a good egg at all. No, that's no problem. It's just storylines. I get that, yeah. Your son's called Josh too. You know what? Side tangent, but like, Josh is one of those old names, like old names. And then I figured out that it's not, well, Josh isn't really a, like, in today's world, like I say today's world, I'm 36. So like, you know how names phase out? I feel like the name Josh is phasing out. I don't hear it very often anymore. But then again, I don't really socialise that much, so... But yes, we're going to get into meltdowns. With a neurodivergent person, we have days of overwhelm where we can't do anything at all. Where's that symptom? Right, I mean, trust me. Yes, very much can feel you, MJ. The overwhelm is real. Mel says my nephew is called Josh and he's 20. Really, Mel? Ah. Maybe I just haven't met other Joshes. And where there is a Josh that comes in here, I tell a lie. There is a Josh that comes in here. Now with all the money he's had instead of... Yeah. Yeah, there is that too, Lucy. Yeah, there is that too. So, are you ready for meltdowns? Or the explanation for meltdowns? Trying to find my Josh tribe. No, we're going to have Purple Heart tribe. I'm telling you. Elphaba can have green hearts, I'm going to have purple hearts. Oh yeah, Will o' the Wisp. Yeah, we're definitely characters for sure. Um, so yeah, meltdowns. Brace yourselves. Smoke is like I have green. Ah, yeah, I should have gone to the pink hearts. Nah, see, I'm not really into pink. Purple, love the color purple. Not really into pink though. So yeah, ready for meltdowns. I need to take a drink. Here we go.
Fucking meltdowns as well. My mum has to tell me to stop.
Okay, I'm gonna rewind that back. We may hear stimming again. Like I said, this clip is fast. This clip is fast, so we're gonna hear that again.
The fucking filter. I stim all the goddamn fucking time. I go into fucking meltdowns as well. My mum has to tell me to stop.
Okay. As someone that I don't necessarily have meltdowns anymore, I have a lot of shutdowns, and I mean a lot of shutdowns. As a child growing up, even in my early mid-20s, I still suffered with a lot of meltdowns. You cannot stop. Once a meltdown starts, it can't be stopped. You can contain a meltdown. It's like I always think of a meltdown as a good morning, Victoria. I always think of a meltdown as it's like an explosion. You can try and right. You can't just say stop that and she'll go okay. Not how it works. Right, until it's out of your system, it won't stop. Right, because I mean, a lot of people will know this. Doesn't tend to be all that effective. No, Iridis, no, it doesn't. But this is where I feel like because Alphaba's about to talk about tantrums as well. When my son has a meltdown, I can't just say stop. No, Daisy, you can't. Like I said, I used to suffer really badly with meltdowns. I have more shutdowns now. The way a meltdown and a shutdown happen is the same, roughly. It's the reaction point that's different. So I have a lot of shutdowns, but that's because of how I've trained my body and my brain to do that. You do have to ride through meltdowns, you do. And again, it's because, and I know that a lot of people do know this, but I'll explain it from my point of view. Let me just read some comments. Vicky says, so what is the best to do when my daughter has meltdowns? She's 9. The best thing to do is, from my point of view, as I said, I'm not a professional, Vicky, but all I can say is speak calmly, and just try to, as somebody suggested me, just ride it out. So whether it's a meltdown or a shutdown, from my experience, good morning, the observer. This is such an interesting live on autism. Thanks, Josh. No problem. Good morning, Queen Marissa. So I was going somewhere with meltdown and shutdown. Sorry. So I'm going to relate it back to filtering of information. So normally somebody can filter out input of information. The only thing that comes to my child is talking to her quietly and making sure that jumped on me. I'm making sure she's taking her space. I make sure she takes herself to my bedroom for 5 minutes, just on her own time to collect herself. Yes, because the as I'm speaking from my own experience. So the filtering out of information, the normal people can filter out information, and that can be light information, sound information, information physically being told to you, just all points of information, and it depends on the person. So there are some autistic people who can filter out things better. I am not one of them. It's the reason why I'm pretty much a hermit most of the time, because I go outside and there's the bright lights. I've got light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, wind sensitivity, which is another thing. So it's all the combining of information. So when all that information is being fed to you all at the same time, the brain can't handle it, and then that's what causes a meltdown. And emotional regulation also plays a part in that as well. Megan says, a meltdown is to release emotions we can no longer control. As an older bird, I shut down more. Yeah, I tend to shut down more now, Morgan, as well. So I called you Megan, Morgan. A meltdown is instant. A shutdown seems a bit longer. It can be. My shutdowns are longer than my meltdowns were. Angela says she has an older brother and suffers constantly with overwhelm from him winding her up. That can be really difficult, MJ. That can be really difficult, especially in like a family dynamic. Mary Jane says, please all look at Atlas of Emotion done by Dr. Ackman and the Dalai Lama, they created Inside Out. Inside Out's a good movie. So a shutdown is the process. As I said, this is from my experience. The process of a shutdown is the same as a meltdown. It's the response that's different. So, like I was saying about like all the information being fed at you, and being overwhelmed with that information, the brain and body just tends to shut down. For me, they look like mental blackouts, and having conversations, I can tend to, if I'm like a multi-combo conversation, that is not a sentence. Anyway, multi-people conversation, that'll do. If I can't process everything, I will tend to just shut down, and not a lot of information will come in, and it'll take a minute to I'm trying to think of the right word, to reconfigure the system. That's a better word. Try and stay calm and make sure they are safe from harming themselves or others. They can get physical. Yes, meltdowns can do, yes. Some lights affect me, giving me headaches. I've got a constant headache all the time, but that's due to a road accident now. To stop, take a breath, and look at the situation, then proceed. Yes. And I can't be near anyone, need my comforts, and I can't do anything. Yes, Unstable Unicorn, that happens to me. That's the reason why I don't go out much at all. For me, I need to be alone, not talking, distance from everyone and everything. Sal says, what solidified it for me with my son was when my dad passed. I'm so sorry. Who he was close to, no emotion at all. yeah, my mum's favorite line, and it's very concerning, is I will cry over a packet of crisps, but I won't cry over her passing. Um, and that's not to say that a lot of people seem to have this idea that autistic people don't feel emotions. We do. It's just, as again, I can only speak from my experience. My emotions get so much that I can't handle them. Um, that I can't handle them. So like, I've been to obviously funerals before, and I don't quite know how to feel because the emotions are so intense. Queen says, I'm a grown up, but I love Inside Out made me cry. Oh, hey TJ. TJ, Inside Out is a great movie. To reboot yourself, yes, MJ, yeah. And makes us also be aware that shutting down for longer periods can lead to catatonia. Yes, it can. Yes, it really can. We might do a live stream on catatonia, like that as well. MJ says, you know how you shut down a computer when the fan is overheating. That's it. Yes, MJ, which I need to clean out my fans because the computer's not having a good day or having a good moment. Sarah says, my daughter has autism and sleeps every day after school as she's mentally exhausted. Yes, because of masking. Yeah, used to, back in my school days, I used to do that as well. If I like go outside for a longer period of time, I need to sleep. And it just says, if anything, we feel them more intensely. Yes, MJ. Yeah. Mary Jane says we need a shutdown. So we need a shutdown when it gets too much. Cold showers or cold water in a bowl, and you're done. I can't do that because my touch sensitivity, cold, my pain receptors is cold equals pain. I mean, everything equals pain to me, but cold equals pain. So I can't do cold showers. I can't even do lukewarm showers. I have to do hot showers. Your husband deals with emotions differently. Yeah. Yeah, I can't deal with the cold. I can't, because of the scarring I have, I can't deal with heat either. But with cold, it feels like there's pins and needles being stuck into me. And that's just cold air. I can just get a brush of cold air against my skin and it feels like there are pins and needles being stuck into me. Yeah. What you'll tend to find, and as I say, this is thank you for the comments, guys, and morning shell MC. So for me, I won't deal with emotions. Like I'm not gonna say what it is, but I got some news the other day. This was like 4 days ago, and something was being explained to me, and there was like, it was very matter of fact at the time. It wasn't until 3 days later when I was on my own. Oddly enough, I was watching a TV show, and that's when it hit me. It was watching a TV show. That's when the emotion hit me there. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I can look what else we got thoughts of. Yeah, the observer says, can I ask anyone with autism here, did you feel a loner at school? Yes, I did, even though I had a small group of friends. But yeah, I did feel like the outsider. But yeah, I did. Danielle's like, don't be mean, double tap the screen. And Stable says, I never had a set group of friends. I would flirt around a lot. Stable Unicorn, yeah, I mean, I tend to, I had like a, just a call, there's only like a few. I was in the special needs, portion with the school. So, it wasn't just me, but like there was a few of us that were in special needs and we sort of hung together. And just I was segregated terribly in school by myself. I just felt I didn't fit in at all. Yeah, it's a horror. I mean, my school days were horrible. I had some good days, but man, man, I had maybe 5 friends. Yeah, same. I had maybe about 4 or 5 of them. And every single one of them was also neurodivergent. Now, I don't know whether they were neurodivergent, because I don't speak to them anymore, but, and I don't think they were. I think maybe 1 or 2 of them were. I'm trying to remember my school days now, Jesus. But, no, I don't think they were. They had other complications like learning difficulties, because back in my school days, autism was seen, if you was in schools, as a learning disability. That's how they categorized you. I was put in the special needs section, but it was more treated as having a learning difficulty. I mean, yes, I did, but also it's more of the social in school. I didn't really struggle that much. So Sal says, my lad can understand why I cried when he got a distinction in his masters. Said I was odd. Sal, yeah. Because, yeah, I can understand that, Sal. I can understand that. I can understand that. So we was talking about meltdowns and shutdowns. Oh, right, yeah. So this clip is going to talk about tantrums. There is a difference. I mean, I'm sure everyone knows the difference between a meltdown and a tantrum. Oh. Okay. Deep breaths, people.
Do you know what I'm saying? People call it tantrums though, but no, I actually go into fucking uncontrollable meltdowns. I can't fucking help it. So piss off. Do you know what
Again, but you're not understanding what a meltdown actually is. A tantrum is throwing your dummies out the pram because you didn't get your own way, which we've seen. A meltdown is different. The problem and the issue is that they present the same. That's where people have an issue. Is they present the same. However, getting there is different. And no one knows what you're saying, right, Mary Jane? Exactly. A tantrum is when you can't get what you want as a child. A meltdown is emotional regulation. Exactly. It's like, and just as my child can put toys through walls when she's melting down, that's not a tantrum, Elphaba. Well, yeah, exactly. Meltdowns are overload. Yes, Beatrix, yes, they are. Yeah. Hey, Tracy. So yeah, there's a difference. The problem is that a lot of people, because they can present similarly, people, and this is the reason why I hate the fact that Elphaba is how I'll had this conversation, because it's like you're not really understanding it. I'm doing good, Tracy. I hope you're doing good too. Tantrum, they stop and look at you. Or in his case, check the views. Well, yeah. Alphaba throws a wobbler, not a meltdown. Yeah, I do think that's it. I do think that Elphaba does have tantrums, not meltdowns. Oh, MJ, yeah. Man, I had a meltdown last week. The shoe boxes went flying. Oh, I had more shutdowns than I do meltdowns these days, but I've had them. Does E not get E creates this hate for themselves? No, they don't. No, they really don't. They don't. Let's continue because this is going to get progressively worse.
I mean, if who here is autistic, right? And they see
I'm autistic. I'm also a twat, but I'm autistic.
traits to me. Put me in the chat. Put me in the chat if you see traits. Because you know what? All these bitches in the future, right? Saying,
okay, so I know what I was about to go on to. I'm going to move that back a little bit. So let's talk about traits. And you wanting to go on about put me in the chat, like if people are autistic. You constantly have to seek validation to feed into what you want the world to see. Oh no, Mary Jane. I had my first breakdown in 2015. Had multiple breakdowns since then. I have EUPD bipolar DLPD. Yeah, it's like, that's a lot, Mary Jane. That's a lot. Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like fun. Not at all. You know, I mean, I've also got a list too. I'm focusing on autism right now. I mean, even this like, but he's trying to seek validation. He's still trying to seek validation, but he was trying to seek validation from other autistic people to validate how they feel. And people did. Okay, that's fine. However, the problem arises because Alva has spoken about like getting an assessment or doing a questionnaire thing with their mom in cams, and I don't, from my understanding, I don't think that yielded any results. But what I will turn around and say is I was having a lovely conversation with a good friend of mine. Then she knows who she is. About even if Elphaba got a diagnosis, right? Even if Elphaba got a diagnosis of either autism or ADHD now, and came onto the internet and said, "I am autistic" or "I have ADHD," no one's going to believe her. And I also think that even if Elphaba showed the medical records of her getting a diagnosis, I feel like it would be used as this was used to shield them from responsibility, and that's not how things work. It can be the problem is that it can be a cause, but it doesn't excuse your actions. It can be a reason, but doesn't excuse your actions. I've waited 20 years plus to get help. He lied as always. Can't trust a word he says. All right, Mary Jane. Sal says, my lad's waiting on formal assessments, but could take years. It will take years, yeah. Thanks, Josh. This is helping me understand. No problem, Sal. I saw this and I felt like I'm an autistic adult. I wanted to have the conversation of, because I wouldn't necessarily say dissect this, um, but I want to take what Elphaba says and go, well, let's have the conversation then. Lisa says, any adults here with autism, does the sleeping of lack of getting better? My daughter doesn't sleep. For me, so I have a combination. So my brain is constantly going, Lisa. So I generally can't sleep very well. I'm on antidepressants that have a sedative in them. So that helps. That helps me sleep. It doesn't always work. Most of the time it does. But I've only been on them for 9 years. 9 years, yeah, 9 years. I had to think about that for a second. 9 years. So, like, for me, I've always had trouble sleeping. I can go 3 days without any sleep. That's 3 days and 3 nights. And then I will crash for 24 hours, which was always fun. That doesn't necessarily happen now that much because of the medication that I'm on and have been on for a while. But for me, I've always had trouble sleeping growing up and everything. So, Lisa, I've always had trouble sleeping. Melatonin, yeah. So I haven't tried melatonin. Why do I feel like I'm butchering that? Melatonin. Why did I spell it? I've never been prescribed that. It has made a difference for us. We give him a break. Right, okay. Every half term, I notice he runs the house in loops. Right, Lucy. As I say, for me, I've always had trouble sleeping, but I've never tried that. But then I avoid me personally, I have this fear of doctors and hospitals. So for me, I've always, try the gummies. I'll have to see. I've got it with my doctors anyway, which subsequently, you know what's absolutely kind of funny? Well, funny in a roundabout way. Today, as we're covering this, I have to call my doctors because I have to go for an annual autism, like a doctor's assessment thing. I have it done every year. She's on melatonin, but it doesn't work with her. It's like her body fights against it. Lisa. Oh, right. Be careful on melatonin. It reduces hormone levels. Right, Davina. You can order melatonin online or at your chemist. Really, Lucy? Happy Chops. Hello, says your brain produces melatonin naturally. It's not a sedative. It works because they don't make it. Hang on. Lucy says it may be the brand. My son can only take that brand. The melatonin makes him aggressive. Right. As Meg says, the fast pacing, I was told by the doctor, was the brain exercising, and if you can refocus them. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I've tried refocusing my brain. Didn't. Doesn't really work for me. Right. Are you ready for the next part? Now, the next part I know, because I know that like there are a lot of people who have autistic children in here. So, I will do some research on it. Yeah, you may find it can happen. Yeah, I'll definitely do some research on it. I've heard about it, but I've never looked into it because, as I say, I'm on my antidepressants that have a sedative in them, and they seem to be doing the trick. So, sort of like, I haven't really looked into it, but I should do. I'll look into it. So, this is going to piss off parents of autistic children. You ready for this one?
In the future, right? Saying, I've got autistic children and this and that. You don't fucking know. In the chat, put me in the chat if you see traits, because you know what, all these bitches in the future, right, saying I've got autistic children and this and that, you don't fucking know anything about it because you're not a trained fucking professional.
Okay, first of all, okay, you don't know, apparently you guys don't know anything about it because you're not a trained professional. I would argue that also that works in the opposite direction. That the argument that you are trying to have works in the opposite direction, because you're trying to argue with parents of autistic children because they've come out and said you don't have traits, which a parent has to fight for their child, which means they have to do a lot of their own research to be able to cater to help their child. Trained professionals, guess what? They aren't going to look at what's best for the child. You know what they do? They tick off a box. They don't know the child. Which, this argument annoys me. They're best advocates, right? The argument that Alphaba's trying to have here annoys me because, okay, I will fully admit, right? At Alphaba's age, which was 16 years ago, I used to argue, why are parents of autistic children medicating their children? I don't see the point in it. Why not just learn different techniques, right? That was me at Alphaba's age going, well, I never got medicated because I couldn't, because like I have a brain injury. I had a brain injury as well as autism. So, and I used to argue with, I used to call them the Facebook mums. I used to argue. I was like, why not just, what's the word? Not train. Learn a different parenting technique, right? However, as I become more educated in things, and also educated myself in it, there was really, TikTok? There was personal bias there. Our brains are very unexplored. Yes, there are, Mary Jane. I had a lot of hurt and a lot of pain mentally during my early 20s, and so I didn't you know, fully understand that a lot of what I was saying was a lot of my own sort of, not prejudice is, but my own sort of like, well, I didn't go through those things. You know, it's all about like the flexibility of thought thing, um, and the flexibility of thought thing, and I wasn't really understanding how it's different for every person, and every autistic person's different, every autistic child's different. So, I didn't understand that back then. I understand things a lot more now. Kayla said something. Hang on, Kayla said something. I'm a social worker with adults in the justice system, and the variation of additional need is so big. Tick box and one size fits all does not and will never work. No, Kayla, no, it won't. It won't, and it never has done. I mean, I've looked into the. I hate using the word symptoms, but I've looked at traits to do with ADHD, right? Because I fit it somewhere in there as well. I was diagnosed with autism as a child. As an adult, I'm like, well, I fit also some ADHD boxes, but I'm like, I'm very set in my ways now. Martin the Runner says neuroscience is still so unexplored. It is. Even brain surgery is still high risk for injury or death. It is. It is, Martin Runner. I was going somewhere with that. Oh, I was going somewhere with that. Oh yeah. So I don't think Elphaba fully grasps that this response isn't necessarily a good one. It's not necessarily a good one. Really, MJ, really. Lisa says, Josh, will a diagnosis of ADHD make any difference to your life? If not, don't stick another label on yourself. I mean, I've got plenty of labels. No, I think it was more a case of I think I was just looking into it to sort of like because of how my brain works and how like this, that and the other, I'm like could there be help out there to sort of help me sort of regulate what's going on? But I'm like Kala says apparently the next move is to make ASD, ADHD, and dyslexia and umbrella. Really? Kala says I'm dyslexic but have been misdiagnosed and I'm hyperlexic. Okay, but it's easier to diagnose dyslexia. I've never heard of hyperlexic. Never heard of that one. Hyperchop says the one thing I notice with kids on the spectrum, the tiptoes and hyper focus on one specific topic. Yeah, I mean I still do that as an adult though. Or I still do that as an adult, like the whole tiptoe thing. I'd still do that as an adult. Lucy says, my husband has traits of autism, but a diagnosis won't make any changes to his life. So he didn't. Yeah, I get that, Lucy. Yeah, I get that. And that's the reason why I really haven't really looked. I've looked up things, and I'm saying, oh, well, yeah. I can see how, you know, I would fit into that. But I'm like, would it really change anything? I think they're already in the neurodiverse spectrum. You mean Elphaba? Or And yes, Mary Jane says, once you got a diagnosis, then you can help. Without it, you're left in the wind. I mean, Mary Jane, that's very, very true. That is very, very true. Yes, as my son got ADHD traits, and they've said dyspraxia. As someone who has it, I can spot it miles away. Right, MJ, right. He's being retested, yeah. ADHD and autism, etc. Morning, Rose, by the way. You mean as in that's what... I mean, I genuinely don't. I think what's happened is... I genuinely think that Elphaba is just used because the way in which Elphaba uses it is in defense of everything. And like I said, even if Elphaba, got a diagnosis right now, I don't think, because of like the person who cried wolf, I don't think people have believed them. Is he saying all this because they want attention and sympathy, or to get away with things? This was in December. This was December 8 of last year. So this is a year-old clip. But it's interesting now because the apology that Alpha gave now, they did tell me and said that my brain's wired differently. So, yes, even back then and now they are using it as an excuse. Right, Martin Money, yeah. If Alpha got a diagnosis, what would they modify about themselves? They're weaponizing it, yes. And I feel like that's and that can cause some damage somewhere. It did produce an excellent conversation, Smokey. It did. I just saw something. Somebody put something. Hang on. Right. Happy Shop says most people with autism don't know they are doing something wrong. Though I feel. Yes. Sort of, Happy Shop. It, as I said, depends on the person. And it depends on whether they've been taught right from wrong. It all depends. People who are autistic can be easily manipulated. That can happen. So I think that's what is going on with Alpha. Yes, this is learned behavior. Kayla says this is such a controversial topic everywhere. Views are based on generation, etc. They know that, yeah. They do, Kayla, yeah. I'd say to get away with things. My child doesn't get away with things. Yeah. And I feel like that's what Alpha was trying to do. But I feel like the way in which Alpha is coming at parents, because that's what we just witnessed with parents, it's very much a case of she's coming at parents because parents have turned around and said, you're not autistic. It's the case of yeah, Mary Jane, yeah, sorry means you won't do it again. E does it over and over and over, no lessons learned. No. So it's a repeated pattern, but I do feel like I think because Alpha just gave it with a bit of attitude. Alpha was like, oh, these these B words, I don't know if I can say that on here anymore. These B words are, you can't say if I'm autistic or not, you're not a trained therapist. And the reason why, I think the conversation that Alpha wants to have is, you can't base me on what your child does. I think that's the conversation that Elphaba wants to have, or wanted to have back then. The conversation that Elphaba should have had was, just because your child acts this way doesn't mean I should act this way. And because Elphaba doesn't have a diagnosis, it's very difficult to, it can be very difficult for Elphaba to say that. But I think that's the conversation that Elphaba should have had was, well, parents in general just want to be able to help their child. Yes, Smokey, they do. But I feel like that's the conversation that Elphaba was trying to have just now was, you can't base me on what your child does with traits. But again, I do feel like Elphaba in this moment is using, is using the autistic community to say, oh, I've got these traits, I'm blunt, I'm this, I'm that, to shield themselves from criticism. And that's the problem. Right, Mary Jane, yes, he has proven over and over again that she's a charlatan, yes. Kayla says, this was such an interesting find while I get ready for work. The conversation and awareness. Thank you, Kayla, yeah. I hope you have a good day at work. So I'll be ready for a little bit more.
Do you know what I mean? They assume they know things. You don't fucking know. You know what I mean? Only people understand that habit, they know.
So first of all, it was only professionals can know. Now, it's people who have it only know. You do realise, again, parents of autistic children have done the research. They've seen it firsthand. So of course they're going to know. You can't have this both ways. And yes, while I think yeah, I tend to, morning Jazzy. Here's the truth of it. I don't believe Elphaba is autistic. However, I don't fully know that because I don't fully know her. As in, I'm not in her pocket. That sounded wrong. I'm not living with her. Not that I want to. At all. Good morning, Linz. But I do feel like the problem that I'm having is you are using it, even if you are autistic. I don't think you are, but that's my personal belief. The problem arises when you are using it as a deflection from your bad behavior, because then that makes people such as myself look bad, because you're painting all of us with that same brush, or other people are going to paint all of us with that same brush. Yeah. So that is the problem. I don't think you are. I don't think Elphaba is neurodivergent. I think, in all honesty, what I think's happened is, in all honesty, Elphaba started social media before they were 16. They got famous, I believe, at 16. I think. We've gone on for 4 or 5 years. So 16, 15, right? Roughly. So what I think's happened is Elphaba has reached infamy real fast. And this can be a good conversation to have. Hey, tattooed Leroy, sorry. This could be another conversation we can have, because we see it in characters such as James Charles is another prime example. We've seen it with young stars where they've reached a state of infamy or being famous, and they are stuck at that age. That is another thing. That's another conversation that we can have, and I think that's what's happened here. I don't think Elphaba is autistic or neurodivergent. What I think's happened is Elphaba's learned bad behavior from their mom, got famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, and just wants to grift. But what I think's happened is they got famous so fast that they don't know what to do now. They don't know what to do mentally. Elphaba doesn't know what to do mentally. And I think Elphaba is stuck at the age upon which they became famous. And that's the reason why, like, you do see all this. But I'll let her continue.
Right, thank you. I'm seeing a lot of me in the chat. You're smart. Thank you. Thank you. See, over 20 people agree with me, and they may not fucking like me, but people agree. The council culture don't like that. But you know what? You face to
The cancel culture don't like them. Okay, well that's fair. That can happen. Kayla says agree, Josh. Agree completely with Josh, and they now expect things and to be treated as a celeb when they're not. Yes, because I think like because from what I've seen of Elphaba, I think Elphaba did have an initial starting point. I think Elphaba did initially want to do these things. However, I think the fame got to their head. And now it's a case of damage control. She's boxed herself in because she is now hated for using everybody's diagnosis. Yes, Abrichops. Yes, that's the problem. And I do feel that. Okay, so here's the thing. Like, I feel like Elphaba needs to take some time off for her to discover who she is. To rediscover what her path is. What her path is in life. And we all have to do that. You know? My initial thing to come on to social media, not on this social media app, but on the big red button app years upon years ago, it wasn't that long ago to be fair, but years ago, was to because I was at the time I was volunteering at Mind, and then I was also volunteering with my local Pride, was to use social media, and I was to use social media to help with mental health and to have these kind of conversations. But yeah, well, many things happened. And I do feel like we all come to social media. I think Elphaba comes to social media to socialize, just like I do, just like a lot of other people do. We all come here to socialize. And on that part with Alpha, I can relate because it's just like, well, I don't think Alpha's got much of a life. Neither do I, girl. Neither do I. For different reasons, though. So we come to social media to socialize. And to find connection. And I feel like that's the reason why Elphaba is trying to do what Elphaba is doing. And so this was a year ago. And what Elphaba was trying to do a year ago, and is slightly still trying to do now, is trying to find a community that they can cotton onto. Because from what I've seen, a lot of the... And here's the thing, they have caused this problems themselves. They have. And I do feel like Alpha wants to find connection, but only wants to find connection on her terms. On her terms. It's either her way or the highway. Thank you for sharing the live, Jane. And so it's a case of... when will Elphaba realize that... When will Elphaba realize that she needs to take some time to rediscover who she is? Because like we say, we keep on seeing it all the time, where she needs validation from strangers on the internet, which is a sign of somebody who's very insecure, which I think she has said. I think she has said that she's very insecure. I think she said that recently in her apology thing. So, but I do think she does need to take some... I feel like she needs to take some time, but I feel like we all could do that at times there. We all could do that at times. He thinks it's everything but his behaviour. Yes, it's always everyone else's fault or a medical problem. Yeah, which is fair, you know. Morning random clips. Yeah, and I do feel like Alphaba needs to... Well, at some point we'll discover who she is and what she stands for. I do... So this was an older clip. This was a year ago, and I do think it's sparked a good conversation of, you know, many different things. But I do think it's, you know... I don't think Alpha realizes just the general harm that this can do. You know, clips like this can do to the autistic community and things like that. It's gonna be just... It's gonna be... It's... I believe she was just doing makeup yesterday, which is fair, you know, that's fine. I need to do some more makeup too, or just start doing makeup on a daily basis would be a good thing. Yeah, I saw that she was doing some makeup things, which, you know, that's fair, that's fine. But I do feel like this clip was an interesting one to go through with the different things, and it's a good conversation to have, because a lot of the time I always assume that other people look this up because obviously like autism and things like that are being spoken about more. So I feel like, you know, my sort of voice in this is sort of like, well, I'm an autistic adult, I can speak on things, but I do think that people are already speaking about it, and I always assume that people are already speaking about it. I'm a bit wrong on that front, judging by the conversation today. I am going to get out of here though, because I said this was going to be a short live, even though it's been like an hour and almost an hour and 30 minutes. I'm going to get out of here because I want some food and coffee. But thank you everyone who came along. Unfortunately for them, this is the outcome of Digital Public. Right, Alex, yes it is.